All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to tackle a decision that can literally make or break a business: how to choose the right partners. And trust me, this is way more than just buying stuff. It's about building the very foundation of your company's future.
So I want you to picture this, just for a second. You've been put in charge of a huge project. We're talking a multi-million-dollar budget. And the success or the failure of this whole thing, it's all on you.
Now here's the kicker. You have to pick one, just one, outside company to partner with. Get it right and you're looking at innovation, maybe even market leadership. But get it wrong? Oh boy. You could be facing production nightmares, terrible quality issues, and huge financial losses. The pressure's on. So how do you possibly decide?
That intense, high-stakes decision, that's the world of supplier selection. And it's evolved, you know? It's not just about finding the cheapest price anymore. It's a deeply strategic role that can give a company its winning edge.
So, where do we even begin? Well, the very first step is to build a solid foundation for making our decision. And that means we have to learn to look way beyond just the price tag.
We start with something called a supplier assessment. Think of it like a full-blown investigation. We're not just asking, hey, how much does this cost? No, we're asking the tough questions. Are you actually capable of doing this job? Are you financially stable? Can you really deliver on what you promise?
And this is the key, right? It's a total mindset shift. We're not just trying to make a one-time transaction here. We're trying to find a true partner, someone we can count on for the long haul.
Now, to do this right, you need a plan, a blueprint. You need a structured way to measure every potential supplier against the things that really, truly matter to your business. So let's look at the 6 pillars that make up that blueprint.
These 6 things are the absolute core of any serious evaluation. Yeah, you look at cost, of course, but you also dig into their quality record and their track record for on-time delivery. You've got to assess their technology. Do they have the right tools? You check their financial stability, because the last thing you want is for them to go bankrupt in the middle of your project. And finally, you look at their management. Is the leadership team competent? And honestly, are they people you can actually work with?
So, it's great to have this list of criteria, but how do you actually use it in a systematic way? Well, for that, supply chain pros have a specific set of tools, and they pretty much fall into 2 buckets: quantitative, the number stuff, and qualitative, the other, less tangible stuff.
The most common number crunching tool is the weighted point method. It's a really straightforward 4-step process that brings some much-needed objectivity to the decision. First, you decide what's important and you assign a weight to it. Then you come up with a scoring system, say 1 to 5. Then you score each supplier, do the math, and get your total. This isn't just about spreadsheets, it's about embedding your company's strategy right into the decision itself.
Let's see this in action, because this is where it gets interesting. Take a look at this table comparing supplier A and supplier B. Now look at the cost row. At first glance, supplier B looks better, right? They're cheaper, so they get a 4 out of 5, while supplier A only gets a 3. But, and this is the whole point, look at the weight for quality performance. Our company decided quality was the absolute top priority, so we gave it a huge 40% weight. And because supplier A is perfect on quality, a 5 out of 5, their total score of 4.10 easily crushes supplier B's 3.65.
And that right there is why this method is so powerful. It makes you put your money where your mouth is, strategically speaking. The winner was decided by what the company valued most: quality, not just who had the lowest price tag. This tool makes sure your purchasing decisions actually line up with your business goals.
But, you know, a spreadsheet can't tell you everything, can it? Numbers are great, but they can miss some really crucial things. What about how committed a supplier is, or their company culture, their ethical standards? How on earth do you measure those things?
For that, we need a different kind of tool, a qualitative framework. And one of the most respected ones out there is Carter's 10 C's. Just think of it as a master checklist to make sure you've thought of everything. It covers the basics like competency and capacity, but it also makes you consider those softer things like culture, their ethical or clean practices, and their communication style. It really forces a 360-degree view.
So here's the most important takeaway. You don't pick one tool or the other. They're designed to be used together. The 10 C's checklist helps you ask all the right questions, so you know you haven't missed anything critical. Then, the weighted point method comes in to give you the hard data to compare your options. One tells you, have we covered all our bases? And the other tells you, okay, how much better is this one, really?
Okay, so you've picked your supplier. Great. But guess what? Your work is not done, not even close.
Now the focus shifts to managing costs over the long term. And that means you have to understand the huge difference between price and true cost.
There are really two main ways to figure out if a price is fair. For simple, standard stuff, think office supplies. We use price analysis. You're basically just comparing quotes. But for something complex, like a custom-built piece of factory equipment, you need to do a cost analysis. That's where you actually dig into the supplier's numbers to understand their costs for labor, materials, and all that.
But if you really want to get sophisticated, you have to embrace a philosophy called total cost of ownership, or TCO. TCO is built on one simple idea. The price you pay up front is just the beginning of the story. It forces you to calculate every single cost tied to that product over its entire life, from ordering it to using it, maintaining it, and even getting rid of it at the end.
And this chart, the iceberg, shows you exactly why TCO is such a game changer. The purchase price, that's just the tiny tip of the iceberg you see above the water. All the real costs are hiding underneath. Think about two printers. One is cheap to buy, but the ink cartridges cost a fortune. The other is more expensive up front, but it's super efficient with ink. TCO is the tool that shows you the cheaper printer is actually the far more expensive option in the long run.
All right, let's shift gears a little and talk about something more tactical: discounts. Now, this isn't about haggling. These are strategic financial tools that, if you use them smartly, can really lower your total costs.
And there are a few common types you'll see all the time. Quantity discounts for buying in bulk, which is pretty obvious. Cash discounts for paying your bill early. Seasonal discounts for buying things when nobody else is. And trade discounts for partners within your supply chain. Each one is a specific lever you can pull.
But here's where you have to be smart. Let's take a super common cash discount term. 210, net 30. It sounds like code, but all it means is you get a 2% discount if you pay your bill in 10 days instead of the usual 30. Sounds like a no-brainer, right? Well, it's a trade-off. Your finance department has to figure out if that 2% savings is actually better than what the company could earn by just holding on to that cash for another 20 days. It's a pure financial calculation. So what's the big picture here? When you put it all together, from the big picture frameworks like the 10 C's, to the disciplined number crunching, and finally to this deep understanding of total cost, you see this clear evolution. You're moving away from just making simple transactions, and you're moving toward building real strategic partnerships.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most important question you need to ask yourself as you go out into the business world. When you look at all the suppliers a company depends on, do you just see a line on a budget, a cost that needs to be cut? Or do you see it for what it can be? A powerful, strategic network that could become your company's single greatest source of innovation and competitive advantage. The way you answer that question will make all the difference.